Developed by Don't Not Entertainment and published by Square Enix, Life is Strange Episode 1 was released on January 30th, 2015, and is about an 18-year-old female protagonist named Max Caulfield, who has recently started school at the prestigious Blackwell Academy. At the start of the game, events unfold that reveal to Max that she has the ability to rewind time, a mechanic that then becomes integral to the game. The story is spread across 5 episodes that were released periodically throughout 2015, culminating in the final episode released in October. This week, we will only be discussing the first episode, with future game talks devoted to the rest of the story. Joining me to discuss the game is fellow time-bending enthusiast, JP Smee.
Hello again, everybody. It's me here. I'm back with JP Smee now, talking about Life is Strange Episode 1. So, JP Smee, why don't you tell me what were your non-spoiler overall impressions of the game? What did you like? What did you not like? What do you think could have been better? What do you think they hit spot on? All your thoughts.
Nice. I'm just gonna at you.
Exactly. Verbal diarrhea.
So, first thing that struck me, and I mean literally the first thing, is the visual style. I really, really dug it. It's kind of a nice blend between kind of over-stylized visuals mixed with some kind of more realistic CG.
Right.
The thing that really got me, though, like immediately, was the wind.
Yes.
Again, not going to get into the spoiler stuff yet, but when the game opens, there's a storm going on, and you can literally see the wind, and it's almost kind of like a comic book, and that just really caught my attention. So definitely dug that.
And that was the painterly wisps.
Yes,
that would
yes.
kind of float by. Yeah, those were really cool.
Precisely, and that, like, I don't know, how your outcome is going to be on this, but if you can maybe include some of that just for reference, because dude, that was awesome.
Right.
So yeah, that was definitely a great way to kind of introduce you to the game and the world at large. I really dig the music as well. It's got a more indie kind of music feel to it, which is fitting
because
the game is set in what I guess is it like Oregon, or no?
Yeah,
It's
yep,
Washington
it's Oregon.
State
No,
or something like that.
Yeah, it's Oregon.
Pacific
I think it's
Northwest,
Arcadia Bay
basically.
is in Oregon, but she lived previously in Seattle and moved back to Arcadia Bay.
Right. So it's definitely, they got that kind of, they even reference hipster goodness, which is awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
So the music definitely fits the setting, the tone, everything. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I have a lot of good things to say about this game. So first impressions, visually, it's pretty great. Again, and the music is great. Story so far seems interesting, but I guess we'll get to that in just a minute.
Right.
How about yourself?
I agree with everything you said. I thought the art style was great. It was different. It was kind of like a moving comic book in some ways, or a moving picture. Photography is a big element of the game, and you definitely kind of felt that in the way the game presents itself and that art style. I love that you brought out the wisps of the wind, because there are several scenes where you are looking out a window or looking across a field, and you can always see the wind. And I don't know if that plays into the story later on, potentially, but I kind of feel like with the amount of times you see it throughout the game, that might have some bearing on the story at some point. The music, yeah, it fits the game. It definitely has a hipster kind of indie thing going on that at times kind of wore on me just a little bit, especially when it did the same intro song over and over and over again in the game at certain points.
To be fair, though, and I think I know exactly the scene you're referencing, when you leave the classroom and you're walking around.
Right.
Because that's what it definitely looped for me. I while I definitely did get that, and it did kind of, okay, I'm ready for this song to kind of be over. On the other
Yep.
hand, I was like, well, it's my own fault for taking my time exploring the world and not being quick about it. But that's just me.
Yeah. So the music was good, but there were times where I was definitely okay with the silence. Um, I do really enjoy the. Well, I'm of two minds about it. I love the amount of choices that are available in the game, and later on we'll get to dissecting some of those decisions and comparing what I may have done versus what you may have done. But the game is very much all about choice and making decisions and understanding that those decisions will impact the outcome of the game and probably future episodes and yada yada yada. So I liked the amount of choices that they offered you in the game. There were times where I felt almost overwhelmed by the amount of choices in the game. Um, I was so kind of caught up in getting further in the story, learning more about the characters, and just kind of watching things play out. And I didn't necessarily want to do all the little things that I had the option to do, or even walk over to all the little things I had the option to click on or see. There were times where I just kind of wanted to get through it all and just move on to the next point in the story. But at the same time, if you do take the time to investigate all those things and to look at all those different items and areas and interact with them, the ones that you can interact with, it does definitely add to the overall depth of the game. And there are certain things that you do that you may have done not knowing it was going to impact the story, and then suddenly you get this little prompt that says, "Hey, this is going to impact the story in some way, or this action will be remembered." Um, so it's for me, it was definitely I'd say it was definitely more of a positive than a negative,
Hmm.
but I don't know, maybe future episodes there'll be a little bit more balance between all the different opportunities and all the different choices you get presented. But there were times where I just felt like there's a scene when you're walking down a hallway in the school, um, and the amount of different things you can click on. Just at one point, I just stopped clicking on anything and I just ran to the end of the hallway
Nice,
because I
nice.
was just kind of like, okay, this is taking forever. Um, that kind of leads into one of the things that I wish maybe was a little bit more polished about the game. The game tells you right from the get go, because you and I both played it on PC. The game tells you that the game definitely works better with a gamepad, and I'm pretty sure you played with a gamepad. Is that right?
I did,
Okay.
and I can definitely vouch for my experience because I played it for all of about 30 seconds with the keyboard and mouse, and I'm generally like, I'm a PC guy. That's my thing.
Hmm.
This game definitely plays better with the controller. At least it did for me.
Yeah, and see, where I was playing the game was at the upstairs level of my house. My gamepad was at the bottom level. Every night I kept forgetting to go get the controller, and so I just
Nice.
played the all of episode one with the PC controls, and they weren't terrible, but they weren't great.
Right.
In order to interact with or look at something, you have to hover over it, then hold down the left click, and move your mouse up to the look option. Um, and then to interact with something, you have to hold the left click and move down to whatever that option is.
Oh, oh,
And
that's awful.
yeah, the speed that it takes to do that, and sometimes if you're not quite looking at something 100% right, it doesn't capture that you left clicked and have been holding it down for 5 seconds. Um, that can really just be infuriating.
Wow.
Um, so
So, not to cut you off, but did are you at least familiar with how the controller interface works at all,
no, not
or
at all. I'm
okay,
assuming you hover over something and then it presents you with different buttons to click
ex-
based on what you want to do, and you just click the corresponding button.
yeah, and like the cardinal directions you referenced are exactly the buttons you would hit on the controller. So let's say I'm holding up just so you can see it my Xbox One controller. So you would hit the Y for up, the A for down, and so on. So yeah, there is no delay like you kind of described. I mean, as soon as you hover over anything, like visually, as soon as you look at anything that you can interact with, it immediately prompts you with which button you would push
It's
for
not
whatever
fair.
action. So yeah, that's very unfortunate. I like I said, I played it for all of maybe 30 seconds, which is where you're just kind of walking around. There's nothing to interact with,
Right.
and I kind of got the feeling that maybe I really should try this with the controller. So I'm kind of glad I didn't have that experience because yeah, I didn't get to encounter that flaw, but that does sound like a definite problem that I would not have enjoyed.
Yeah, it was
Um,
pretty grating. I think I'm gonna do episode two with the gamepad, and then kind of come. I'll have a good point of comparison at that point to see which I prefer. I think based on what you're describing, I will undoubtedly enjoy the gamepad more, but you never know.
yeah,
I got kind of used to the controls by the end of the experience.
right.
Um, that isn't to say that I was okay with it, and it's definitely if they're going to release the game on PC, then I feel like they need to that's something that needs to be addressed. And I don't know if all the episodes played the exact same way, or maybe they got improved along the way. I don't know, but I really hope they did because that's terrible. Um,
Yeah,
Other than
that's
that,
bad.
though, visuals were great. Story so far has been great. Um, so let's at this point kind of let's get into some spoilers.
Hmm.
So for anybody watching now, now is your cue to leave.
Yeah,
Um,
and I want to jump in real quick. Please, actually, if you are interested in this game, please check it out.
yeah,
I'm
play
gonna
it.
throw out my reference or recommendation now because it's really good.
Yes,
And what little I've gotten into it, because I've only completed chapter one at this point, which I think you likewise have only done the first chapter at this point.
correct.
Um, there's a lot going on, and it's a really interesting story, and it definitely has my attention. So that's my little thing. Yeah, go
Yeah,
on.
definitely stop, go play, and then come back. All right, so that warning is out of the way. Um, so just a brief kind of semi-spoilery synopsis. Um, the game stars a female protagonist, Max Caulfield. She grew up in Arcadia Bay with her best friend Chloe, and at some point during her childhood, she and her family moved to Seattle, leaving her childhood friend behind. Her childhood friend Chloe went through a lot of drama, a lot of stuff. Made a new best friend along the way. Eventually, Max, the main character, and her family, or she gets accepted into Blackwell Academy, which is located in Arcadia Bay. So she goes back there to attend this school. I'm assuming it's some kind of magnet school for photography, since that's kind of what everybody is into at the school. Um,
I think either that or some like magnet school maybe for the arts, not
right?
necessarily
Yeah,
just for photography, but obviously photography plays a huge role in this. But yeah,
yeah. So she's been. I mean, looking at the journal because I actually at the start of the game read through her entire all her previous journal entries because that was one of the options they gave, and I was like, yeah, well, why not? Let's learn more of this character's backstory. It looks like she's been there since the beginning of summer, or the end of summer. Like I think around July, I think is when they start. I can't remember the exact month, but sometime middle end of summer.
right.
Um, and then the game takes place in October, right before Halloween, or right around the Halloween time. Um, so you start the game in class, and you alluded to this earlier. She has a vision of herself in like on the edge of a cliff, and there's a lighthouse, and there's this massive tornado heading towards Arcadia Bay, and
Totally awesome looking, by the
it
way. That
was
entire sequence is like super memorable for me.
yeah. I remember having kind of like a what the fuck moment at that point.
Well,
And
the
then,
best thing is so is she.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
the character has no idea what's going on, and from a storytelling perspective, I really enjoyed that because you have the standard fish out of water scenario, and the character is just as confused as you are, and that was kind of refreshing for me. I'm kind of it's cliche to have things where everything's going crazy, the world's coming to an end, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I know what's going on here. This blah 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 blah,
Right, yeah,
whatever." And
yep.
whereas with this, she has no clue, and she doesn't even know where she is or when it is, or is she awake? Is this a dream? What is going on right now?
Right. Yeah,
And
I almost
yeah,
thought it was the middle of the game,
yeah.
and then we were going to have some kind of flashback sequence to get there. I was actually happy that it was more of like a dream, and then you have your second what the fuck moment where she wakes
Or
up and she's
was
in
it?
class.
Right.
So, or
Um,
you're right, or was it? Who knows?
One thing I wanted to kind of chime in on, and this is just me being the nerd that I am. So I don't know if you picked up on the significance of her name, Caulfield specifically. But that
No.
is, and I don't know this for sure, but I'm like 99% certain that this is a reference to Catcher in the Rye, which the main character in that was Holden Caulfield, who, that is a pretty timeless coming of age story about a character who is kind of coming to grips with what's it like to figure out who you are and, all of the really complex scenarios that kind of go into that. Way less sci-fi weird craziness, but I'm pretty sure that name is definitely a literary reference there.
I wouldn't
So
be surprised given the subject. They make several other literary and
yes,
references and things like that throughout the game. So that wouldn't I wouldn't be surprised by that at all.
yeah,
Um,
because for me, just it's one of those books that I was like, oh, this is perfect time to read this as I'm figuring out who I am as a human being, and in school and all that. So
yeah.
it definitely felt fitting. Um, Another thing, and please forgive me if I just keep rambling, but
Oh, this is a good game. Go ahead.
another thing though, I feel like this kind of pulls some references or some inspiration from the film Donnie Darko. I don't know if you've seen that.
I've seen bits and pieces, but I can see kind of where you're going with the reference.
Yeah, because it's kind of like Donnie Darko if it was a female and maybe a little bit less strong of a character, because sure her character is very uncertain of herself,
Right, yeah.
but you're kind of playing the opposite in that in Donnie Darko he could see the future or something like that, or he could see the path of fate that was kind of going before him. Whereas in this, and this is kind of going back to the story, as you progress through the game, every choice that you were presented with, after a certain point, the game actually gives you this mechanic where you can reverse time,
Yep.
and with that, it's surprisingly powerful because you're given choices for every single thing you can do, but then you can change what the choice you went with.
After you see the outcome and you decide, okay, do I really like what happened here? Do I really want
Right.
this to be the direction things go? If not, rewind and change.
And
Um,
to that though, you mentioned earlier talking about like there's so many things to look at, so many choices to make. I felt overwhelmed as well until I realized I could reverse time and make change my mind. So I kind of almost want to go back and do it again and make a lot more choices because I was actually honestly terrified to make any choice when I first started because it was
right,
like, oh, this action will have consequences or something like that is what popped
right,
up on the
yeah.
screen the first time, and so I was honestly like, okay, what is this going to do? I had no idea what kind of impact any little action might take, and you just don't know what kind of rabbit hole you're jumping down into until they give you the mechanic that, oh, you can reverse time.
Yeah, see, I almost had the opposite kind of approach to it. Um, I was pretty confident in about 80% of the decisions I made. And
Nice.
so when it said, Because after you make some decisions, she even has a little inner monologue occur where she even wonders, was this the right decision? Was this, should I have gone the other way versus this way? And it's almost like the game is encouraging you to rewind time to see what the other option is. And for many instances, I was like, nope, I'm good. That was that's what I wanted to do. That's what I would have done in that situation. So
Nice,
moving on.
nice.
Um, so yeah, you actually you first discover the character first discovers that she has this ability when she has a situation. She's in the girls' restroom and she's just kind of hiding out from everybody, taking a moment of quiet to herself, and that quiet gets disrupted when one of the schools or the school's most connected evil, vile people. And that is one of the story cliches where you have the rich family that owns the town, that owns everybody, that has everybody in their pocket, and the eldest son at high school is untouchable. That's we've seen that character before. That's been done, but it was okay in this story. It didn't bother me that much. But anyway, that character that
It's a workable archetype for a
yeah.
reason. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So he comes into the bathroom. He's having a freak out session, and another girl comes into the bathroom after him. They have a conversation that doesn't really go well, and at the end of that conversation, he pulls out a gun and shoots her. And you are watching this happen, questioning whether or not you should intervene. Then you kind of reach forward to try or scream like you're trying to stop something, and suddenly time kind of starts reversing. And that's when your character first discovers, holy crap, I can rewind time. And you rewind time, and you have the ability at that point to save the girl's life. And
Now,
that girl you later find out is your best friend who you had abandoned. Say
right.
that. Abandoned not against your will when you were young because your parents moved.
Right, but that's the angst of teenage nonsense. I mean,
Yep.
woe is me. You left me.
You
Well,
left me
yeah,
behind.
there's so many other situations that are playing in there. But one thing I wanted to point out that really sets this game apart from other games that I've played that have kind of a time shifting mechanic, um, is that they kind of don't just give you the ability to go back in time and change your choice. Like there are different points in time where you are given more options by going back.
Correct.
Because I don't know if you notice this in every instance, but like if you like say walk to point A from point B, well, if you start rewinding time and you're still standing at point A, you rewind all the actions that happened, but you're still standing at point A. So it actually kind of gives you this weird like you could almost say it's like you're kind of teleporting in a
Correct.
sense.
Yeah, that's an important thing to point out, like that you just touched on.
Yeah.
When you're
So
rewinding time, you are altering everything but yourself.
exactly.
You're retaining all any knowledge you gained, any your momentum in physical space. All of that is staying the same. Everything else around you is rewinding.
And it definitely plays in like way at the end of the chapter. There's a moment where it basically tells you that, but at this point, like if you're really paying attention, you'll actually notice that effect, and you can start to see how this game kind of combines, really interesting storytelling, with some kind of puzzles kind of mixed
Yep.
in, which okay, typically choose your own adventure or adventure style games are going to have puzzles, but having this time mechanic really makes it feel fresh.
Yeah, I agree. So speaking of time mechanic and choices, you actually have the page pulled up.
I do.
If I'm correct. What one interesting thing about the game is once you finish the first chapter, and I'm assuming this happens at the end of every chapter, they present you with a screen that shows you, I think, maybe not all of, but most of the key decision points in that chapter, and it compares what choice you made against the rest of the world, everyone else who's played Life is Strange, and then it also compares you to your friends. Um,
Which
so, for
sadly,
example, yeah,
sorry.
no, well, yeah, we were playing through Steam, and I think what JP Smith was about to allude to is we just found out that you can't you can compare yourself to your friends, but you can't see which friend made what choice versus what you made. So,
Well, what I was going to comment on that, I think, and could be completely wrong. I think that it's actually not even working at all. Because when I look at the global stats, it actually shows a percentage value showing like what I picked, and then showing what the averages were, across everybody who's played the game. When I go
right,
to the friend stats, it doesn't show anything like that. It only shows me what I picked. So
okay,
what I'm going to assume, and those are fun things to do, is that and at least on the PC side, it's not functioning as intended. Now, on the console side, I have no experience with that, so I don't know
right.
if that is working at all, or if what I'm seeing is what we
I
should be
imagine
seeing.
that it would probably, if nothing else, work better since both PS4 and Xbox One, the friends list and the your contact that's all baked in. So
Right, right, and that's
so
that's
much
my
into every
assumption
game
as well.
into the OS. So yeah. So anyway, so let's go through some of those choices and kind of compare what you did versus what I did. See if we were aligned. So why don't you go ahead and pick one or I don't know, pick some of your favorites.
All right. Well, one interesting thing as I'm looking through all of these, because it's right now I have it on the screen set to show the world stats. Only in one instance did I do what most of the rest of the planet did, which is really funny to me because I always think that I'm kind of a
It
boring
is
person that
it
does
is
what everyone
interesting.
does. And so that being said, the one thing I did that is in line with everybody else is there's an instance where there's this girl who's kind of a fun person,
Victoria?
terrible human being. Yes,
Yeah.
Victoria, and I chose to comfort her in a time when, admittedly, I caused her to have the problem she had in the first place, but she
Now
didn't know that.
that's when she's sitting on the stairs, right?
Yes, yes, and she gets the paint spatter,
Yep.
and I was like, "Oh, it's so sad. I feel sorry for you. Let's be friends." And yeah, so 75% of the planet, they were nice to her, which I likewise did. And I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say you totally made fun of her.
No, no. I am offended that you would say that. No, I
Nice,
actually,
nice.
I know that's against type for me, but
It
no,
is totally.
I did the same thing. I comforted her, um, and okay, so I did it not for altruistic
Uh-huh.
reasons.
Which, admittedly, I acknowledge I did
Yeah,
not either. I thought it would be more useful to me in the long run.
exactly. I did it to see if that was a relationship that I could later leverage
Yep.
to to get something or get somewhere. I didn't want. Basically, I was doing anything I could to not make an enemy.
The funny thing is, I was thinking about this choice as I was making it, and the implications that this in it at its core, it's a game, and so there's part of me that is torn between making a moral choice that I would make versus I'm gaming the system because I know it's a game and I know that this choice is going to have some impact in the future. So, am I making this choice because I'm a nice human being, or am I making this choice because it will benefit me in the future?
Yeah, I was totally gaming the system, and
Right.
it. I think in reality, I probably just would have avoided the confrontation completely,
Right.
but given that it was a game, given that I really wanted to make sure that I wasn't making enemies and doing something that can come back and bite me in the ass later, totally comforted her.
So, curiosity, do you have the screen up on yours right now?
No, no, I don't have it on mine.
Okay, so what would you say? Like, I can go down the numbers, but I think that would be kind of boring. What would be
I
the
am curious. Did you water the plant in her room?
It's funny that you asked that because that doesn't even show up on my options. Hold on, let me go back to the
I was
screen.
going to say there should be 2 pages of
Oh, you know what? There are two.
choices.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, there are 2 pages. Let me see, cause yeah, I did a whole bunch of stuff. I didn't water the plant, which apparently I'm in the minority on that.
Yeah, me too. I didn't even know, see,
I
and
didn't see it.
that's I was going to say that's going back to that feeling I mentioned earlier where sometimes I feel like there's almost too many choices
Right.
and too many things going on
Yeah, I
because I
think.
didn't even know that was an option. Or if it was one and I did, I probably just was like, you know what, at this point I want to hurry up and get to the story.
Right.
Tired of clicking on every little thing.
Interestingly enough, now that I'm looking through this, it looks like the first page is like the major points, and the second page is kind of like the more minor things.
Right. Okay.
So,
Well, here's so okay. Let's some of the key ones. Um, did you rat? What's his name? Is his name Nathan? I think
yeah,
it's
yeah,
Nathan.
Nathan.
Did you rat Nathan out to the principal?
Amusingly enough, I did, and then very quickly realized that it was pointless. So I actually rewound time and decided to hide the truth,
Okay. See, I
which put me in the minority.
yeah, I ratted him out, and it's funny, and I realized this as I got further into the game. Too often, I would forget that I had the ability to rewind time, and so I would make a choice, regret it, move way forward in the story, and then realize, oh hey, you know what? I could have rewound time.
Yeah,
That sucks.
and that brings up a good point. There are checkpoints. So once you hit a certain point, you
Yes,
can't go back. So you have to
correct.
kind of make your choice, kind of think your way through it, and then proceed in the story. All right. So here's the next one, and this is one where I'm in the extreme minority. I'm talking teens percentage across the globe.
Damn.
Um, so yeah, there's a scene when the security dude is harassing a
Oh,
character named
Kate.
Kate. You have the
Yes.
choice to either take a photo or to intervene.
You took a
Um,
photo, you
I
sick son of a
totally
bitch.
did, and
Oh my
it's
god.
funny because it's just like you described. I did it, and I was mostly just kind of curious about it, and then as the story kind of unfolded in front of me, I kind of forgot that I could go back and undo that. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let it happen and kind of see what happens. And I
Terrible
will
human
tell you
being.
now, yeah, the game really makes you feel bad for that. By the
Oh, I
way,
bet.
like it really rubs it in your face all for the rest of the entire chapter. Like there are at least 2 or 3 moments where either your character kind of laments, boy, I really should have done something, or I hope she's okay. I wonder what's going on there. And then like in the credits, you totally see this like really enigmatic scene where she's just like crying by herself, and I'm like,
Yep.
man, I am a terrible human being. So,
Douche.
yay
So,
me.
okay. Well, what kind of in that same theme did you? What did you choose to do in the garage? Um,
Oh man,
because
that
I
place, I was all over the place in there. I did
see, I
everything
was
I felt I could.
nervous. I was too nervous to do anything because once again, I forgot about the damn rewind time mechanic.
See, that was when I feel like I really got the game, and I was like, okay, I got all cylinders are firing right now. So
You left no evidence, I'm assuming, right?
I left no evidence. That being
Okay,
said,
same here.
I
Same
did
here.
every single thing you could do. So I'm like looking through the dude's
That I did.
files, I'm looking through pictures, I'm
Yeah.
opening cabinets and looking at really interesting camera setups that he's got, where he's got everything in their house wired, which is really super creepy.
Yep.
And then because I did all that, and I'm guessing you didn't get this option because you didn't look at everything, you can totally rat on him. Like you can tell the friend all the stuff that
Oh,
you saw, even though you rewound time so that you didn't physically do those things.
right.
Um, which that kind of blew my mind. I was like, whoa, okay, so my power, like you kind of mentioned it, like you retain all that knowledge. Your character in the game will actually act upon that knowledge even if they've undone the things that they did.
Yep.
Um, which again, kind of mind blowing in the implications because then I don't know. It's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
So
sure. So yeah, I did. I think I mentioned to Chloe the stuff about Kate because I think he has pictures of Kate or something like that.
yes.
I can't remember. I think I mentioned that. I think I had the option of mentioning that, but I didn't go through the. There's a security camera in the guy's house. I did not touch that with a 10-foot pole because I was terrified that the minute I hit play, he was gonna come walking into the door behind me,
I was terrified,
and
but
yeah,
honestly, at that point, because at least for me, and I'm guessing it was the same for you, you had to make use of the fast forward through time to kind of solve the puzzle in there to get the tools.
yeah. But
Um,
even still, for some reason, I was still too freaked out
See, at that point, once I
to
realized that,
do
it was like
anything.
it clicked in my mind. I'm like, okay, I got this. And you know what? If something terrifying happens, I can just rewind time and undo it. It's the best thing ever, no consequences. And I once I kind of embraced that, I ran with it, and I feel like the game actually became legitimately fun as opposed to intimidating and frightening. Because up to that point, I was really afraid of every choice, and from then on, not so much.
Yeah, well,
Be
like I said,
liberated and
I don't
remember
know
the
what.
mechanics, and the game is fun.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think towards the once you get the tools, once you fix your camera, everything that happens in the bedroom. I chose not to intervene with that. By the way,
Oh,
I stayed hidden in the closet.
okay, that I'm kind of bitter, because I tried to hide in the closet, and it failed miserably, and I'm not sure why. I think it
Hmm.
might have been because I took too long to get to it.
I was going to say there is a time factor there.
It felt like there was a time factor, because yeah, when I tried to get into the closet, I literally like broke everything, and like everything in her closet came crashing down and made all this noise. And so the father just kind of bursts open the door, and I'm like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?"
Oh wow.
Yeah, it did not go well for me.
Ah, I wonder what
Um,
that's gonna do for you later on in
well,
the game because that's
yeah,
interesting.
because I had that, and that was listed as one of the big choices, and I was in the minority, though not at the extreme minority.
Hmm.
I took the blame. I said it was mine, the weed.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah, go me
Yeah,
for
look at
being in
you.
the bottom 25th percentile of the planet. Um,
Nice.
Seriously. Now, interesting enough, I'm looking at these stats. There is one category. There's only 1% of the people who've played this game blamed Chloe. Those are some jerk friends right
Yes.
there.
Yes. That's
Um,
no. I can't even. No. I was
that like didn't even cross my mind
no.
as a
Me neither.
legitimate answer. I'm
It's
like,
terrible.
no, I would not do that.
Jerk
But
faces.
apparently, 1% of the planet. Yeah,
Now
congratulations.
imagine playing that scene with the keyboard and mouse controls and how terrible they are, and I still was able to get into the closet before you did.
Yeah.
You
Uh,
just suck.
I honestly, and you know, it's funny that you mentioned this because I totally was just, I'm learning the mechanics and I have no fears. Yeah, I was totally freaking out when I'm like, oh God, what do I do? What do I do? The father's at the door, and I like seriously just started like mentally stumbling all over myself, and so yeah, that was fail on my part, but again, I'm okay with it because I feel like that's what I would have done if I were Chloe in that scenario, and
Right.
I gotta give credit to the developers. They have created a world that's interesting. They've created characters that seem plausible. I'm not gonna say like completely real because you know there's definitely some caricature going on there,
Yeah, for sure.
but I feel like they're characters that are interesting and they have enough going on there that they feel they're like living people. And so, yeah, I was compelled to act and think the way that I think Chloe would have acted and reacted in that situation.
So, let's kind of wrap it up a little bit here. First, and you kind of pretty much already done this, but just, what were your overall last thoughts, your recommendation, and then what do you think is going to happen in future episodes?
All right. Well, first off, like I said before, play this game. It's really interesting. That being said, um, I I think, and I kind of hope I'm right, and I kind of hope I'm wrong at the same time. Um, I kind of noticed if you go through the rewind time motion, like rather than just hitting there's a button you can push to like just fast forward it, like zoom back to the
Yeah,
last decision point.
skip major. Yeah,
Right. But if you actually just hold the time, it almost looks like she's in pain.
right,
And so I kind of feel like the storm that you are seeing, which is kind of hinted that that's possibly in something that's coming in the future, I feel like she's causing it. Like I feel like
okay,
her using her power more and more seems to visually it looks like she's in more and more pain or discomfort. So I kind of can't help but wonder if it's the universe kind of uh, correcting itself for her jacking with time. Could be
right.
wrong, but I think that would be a really cool idea. To have kind of like a consequence of using a power that is really, if you look at it at its fundamental value, it's shaping the like reshaping the entire universe. Like there's got to be more
Right.
implications than just this little bubble around Chloe. So that's my thought. I don't know. I could
Well,
be completely wrong, but I'm going big with this one.
no, you know, honestly, I hadn't even considered that as an option. So that's a neat idea. Overall, I definitely highly recommend the game. I really, honestly can't wait to keep playing the episodes. I did start episode two, which was a little bit difficult for me because there were some things that bled over from the end of one into two, where I was about to say something, then realized, oh wait, I think that's episode two, not episode one.
Thank you,
Um,
because I have not touched episode 2 yet, and
yeah,
I would reach through the internet and smack you, because
right. No, but see,
and
that speaks very highly of the
oh,
game
it
because
does, it
you
does,
definitely don't want it spoiled. You want it's something that you kind of need to experience for yourself.
and that kind of goes back to the early warning. If you guys have been listening to this and or watching this and you haven't
Dumbasses.
played, seriously, you just ruined a really delightful experience for yourself, because this is an experience that you need to go into blind, as much as you possibly can, because I had no idea going into this what I was getting into, and
Right.
I'm so glad that I kind of kept myself in the dark going into
Agreed.
this.
Yeah, I
That
purposely avoided all spoilers and all um, let's plays and any kind of commentary whatsoever on the game. I avoided because I knew this was a game that I was going to eventually want to go back and experience firsthand. So I highly recommend it. As far as predictions of where I see the game going, and I'm going to not pull from anything that I've seen so far in episode two. Um, Part of me wonders, and I'm pulling a kind of a geek reference here. The same thing you mentioned, where when she rewinds time too much, you kind of see like she starts to look like she's in pain, like it's hurting.
hmm
It reminded me a little bit of Hero from Heroes.
hmm.
When he did his freeze time mechanic, and eventually on in the series, he does it to the point where he starts getting nosebleeds.
hmm
I think he actually develops a brain tumor or something like that.
I think
Um,
so, or something. But yeah, he ends up it actually hurting him to a
right.
point.
So I almost wonder if that will somehow play into the game to where you'll eventually reach a point where you'll kind of know what's going to happen, but you won't be able to rewind time anymore to do anything about it, and she actually has to like face it head on. And like maybe your last few decisions, you won't have the option to undo. You'll just have to do them.
Just kind of
Um,
live with consequences of
or
what you've
you
done up to this
rewind
point.
time and you die. Um,
Nice.
to where like
That's harsh.
maybe that's what how the game, the conclusion, you either rewind time to fix the situation and die,
Right.
or you just let it play out and hope it works out for the best. I don't know.
See that, and
um,
this is one thing that you just kind of made me think about. I kind of want to play the game again, but I don't. Like right now, I want to play through and go through as I'm doing. But I'm kind of curious to go back and see if I can play the game differently and have wildly different outcomes. Like I would
right,
be curious to see what the game would play like if you didn't rewind time at all. And I know that there's one or two key moments where you have to, but
right,
like I again, this is assuming that we're both kind of right. that there is some kind of downside to her using her ability. Like, what if you don't use time rewinding or whatever you want to call it, and you just kind of make it through the entire story? How does that impact the end?
Right. I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find out.
Indeed.
So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you've learned something, and hopefully you take away anything from this, our impressions of the game, is that you need to go out and play it. It was on sale earlier on Steam. I don't know if it still is, but even if it's not, it's worth every penny,
Yeah.
every money. And I believe you can buy it as individual episodes too.
Yeah,
So
a la
if you
carte.
can't afford to get it all at once, yeah, definitely, get what you can when you can. The game's great. JP Smee, thanks for joining me and talking about it.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so thanks.
Special thanks to JP Smee for joining me this episode, and to all of you for watching. If you liked the video, please like, share, and subscribe, and feel free to comment below to suggest games you think we should play. Also be sure to join us next week to hear our impressions of Undertale. Until next time, have a great week.